Good morning, Chris. Chris Tesarski, my friend Chris Tesarski, is the Alberta Party Shadow Minister for Municipal Affairs. Chris, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about what's going on in Alberta regarding coal mining in our wonderful, beautiful mountains. Is this really good for Alberta economically and for jobs? And what about the environmental impact on Calgary and Edmonton and on other smaller communities in the province?
Yeah, so good morning, Trond. Here's the thing about coal mining. Obviously, historically there have been many towns, not just in Alberta, but globally, who have been impacted by coal mining and have provided lots of jobs. When the mine shut down, the jobs all left. That's a well-known fact. What has also evolved and occurred, which is really shouldn't be any surprise, is the incredible amount of automation and technology that's been brought to the mining industry. So there's the concept, I think, and it's perhaps romantic in a sense, so as much as you can apply that against coal mining, and we hear the Rita McNeil and the singing and all that's all very wonderful. It's part of our history, and we wouldn't be here today. Let's just be honest. If it wasn't for the brave miners who've gone down into those pits and mines over the centuries, our world as we know it technologically probably wouldn't exist.
No, that's true. I certainly agree with that. Yeah.
So we have to honor that history. We have to honor that past. But Tron, we've seen it in the oil sands mining operations. We've seen it in mining operations globally. Our company has been involved in looking at the wastewater and waste management side of the business. And there's an incredible amount of technology and automation that's been brought to the business. So the romantic concept that somehow the whole town is going to march out at the buzzer and go down the mine, and then when the buzzer goes off again, they do the shift change. I mean, that's all very well and good for movies and TV series, but that's not the way that it is anymore. And so obviously these companies are looking for getting as much product out of the ground as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible. And that's not going to include hiring a ton of people in the town. So there will be some short-term employment. I'm not going to deny that. But long-term, the benefits just will not be there in terms of providing a lot of jobs. That's just a fact in today's mining environment. But secondly, where we do need the jobs, where robots cannot replace humans, is in the enormous benefit that we have. We are blessed, absolutely blessed. I've traveled around the world and seen some beautiful, beautiful places. But Trond, when I mention where I'm from in Brazil, or when I mention I'm from Alberta, Canada, when I'm traveling in Mexico or South America, people know this place. They know who we are in Asia. They have traveled here, or they have friends who've traveled here. Many of them have family here. And they all say the same thing. You are so blessed. Do you know how blessed you are to live where you live? Yes, it's cold and we have to plug our cars in for a few months in the wintertime, but we have so much more to gain, Trond, by keeping our mountains and our parks in the pristine way that they are. Perhaps looking for some gasification of those deep coal gas seams that does exist in some of these locations. That would be very, very non-disruptive to the environment, to the mountains as they exist. We wouldn't be lopping them off, cutting them off, chopping off the scenery, chopping off the forests, the infrastructure, the ecosystems that exist in nature. We're not getting rid of all that for the sake of a very finite resource. The world is going away from coal. As quickly as China may be building some of the coal plants that are still on the docket, they're getting rid of coal plants and they are not bringing them back again. They're going to nuclear, small scale nuclear, bioreactors, they're going to natural gas, they're going to all kinds of different solar, you name it, but they're not going back to coal. They're not taking a look at an old coal plant and saying, hey, why don't we turn that into a new coal plant? And so this concept that somehow for 50 or 100 or whatever years we've got left is folly at best. And you'll notice the very short time frame that the government is saying right now, well, we're going to make a bunch of money. Have they counted the cost? I don't know. We've discussed this before, Tron. The cost of taking the wastewater, and there's always significant water resources, whether that's in the extraction process or underground in the mines as they exist, and we have to remediate that water. It comes into contact with a lot of chemicals and things that you don't want to have in your water stream, in your water table. There's a tremendous cost to that. And we're talking, even if it's a penny or a fraction of a penny a gallon, we're talking trillions of gallons. And so that's just to get it out. Then at the end of the day, we always know whenever you look at a mine, there's tailings ponds that have to be remediated. There's operations that have to come back in and take care of the environmental cleanup side of it. That takes years and billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. Now, sure, if this was 1900, and we just found a coal seam, I guess we probably would have lopped the mountain off and gone for the coal, right? Because we had 200 or whatever years ahead of us to get the coal out of the ground. Nobody worried about wastewater or waste remediation back in the early 1900s or 1800s or before that. They didn't even know what that was, right? You just pumped it into the river or wherever. Well, we can't keep doing that. Albertans aren't going to stand for that. The ranchers in southern Alberta are not going to stand for the wastewater and the waste being pumped into the lakes and the rivers, and somehow we'll deal with it later. And I don't think this government has. They haven't calculated the cost. Someone has not done the Excel spreadsheet on what this is going to look like 10 years down the road, let alone 25 years down the road, when probably we won't even be using coal anymore. You look at a place like the UK, they're not rushing towards, oh, why don't we go open up some more coal mines that we closed down in the UK? They have the ability to do that. Are they doing it? No. The government has announced that they're not going to be doing any, hydrocarbon-based cars in 2030. They're trying to put the UK on 100% wind backup power combined with natural gas and other renewables. Why are we rushing to chop a mountain off when the rest of the world is rushing away from it? There's no logic in it, Tron. And it's a short-term cash grab is what it is. This government is looking to scrape up as much money under the cushions as they possibly can. And so they'll take it from the teachers' pensions, or they'll rob it from the nurses, or they're going to take it from an Australian coal mining company, when we should be looking at what this province is going to look like in 100 years. And 100 years from now, we're not going to be lopping off mountains for coal. And so I know it's painful. I know it's hard. We've all had to do it. As small business owners, we all look in every jacket and sweater and pair of jeans we have in the house some days to find that dollar to keep going. And I get it. I understand that Alberta is struggling, but robbing the pension funds and robbing our parks and taking away the environmental future for our kids, for my grandkids who will be alive in the 22nd century, my grandkids and probably my two youngest children, God willing, my older boys as well, will be alive, Tron, in the 22nd century. And I can pretty well guarantee you that nowhere on this planet will be rushing headlong into coal mines in the 22nd century. We are so close to bringing industrial solar. I don't think we're there yet. Okay, but I think probably within the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to get to the point where we can start looking at industrial solar combined with nat gas, combined with wind. Here's the thing with nat gas, and we've had this discussion so many times before, Tron. This province is so abundantly blessed with natural gas. Why are we lopping off a mountain to get at metallurgical coal? Okay, that's not what they're trying to do. I mean, metallurgical coal does not require us to lop the side of a mountain off. And oh, by the way, they're starting to make, non-hydrocarbon based steel now. Okay, the first steel plants going up now don't require, hydrocarbon based substances to create the steel. So there you go. So tell me why we need to do this. Well, we've already discussed it. It's a cash grab. It's a short-term cash grab because Jason Kenney's running out of suit jackets and jeans to find another nickel in. And that's what he's doing. He's nickeling and diming Albertans at the expense of our future, instead of saying, yeah, it's going to be a little tough, but let's get creative. let's put our thinking caps on and let's start to think about what a 22nd century Alberta is going to look like. And if we did that, we wouldn't be robbing our teachers' pension funds because we need them desperately. We wouldn't be robbing our healthcare workers, Tron, because we need them desperately. And we wouldn't be chopping the top of a mountain off because we'd realize that there's far more money available to this province by bringing people in to see them than by scaring them out of the province by bad economic and investment decisions that this government continually makes on a day-by-day basis.
Yeah, Chris, you know, this is a really interesting subject, and I want to talk more about that on another day. I want to talk more about, if you don't mind, about the issues of what's happening in Alberta and what are the consequences of what's happening in Alberta. I particularly liked when you talked about those consequences, but I also want to talk about what can we do to correct the path we're on to get to a good place. So having said that, Chris, I want to thank you very, very much for this. We'll do it again real soon.
No problem, Tron. I appreciate the discussion as always. I have a passion for this province. You know that. We got to go down the road to a 22nd century future.
You bet.